Welcome to the Private School Leader Podcast, where private school leaders learn how to thrive and not just survive as they serve and lead their schools. I strongly believe that it is possible to have a long and happy and fulfilling career as a private school leader, and my passion is to help you figure out exactly how to do just that, right here on the Private School Leader Podcast. And I'm your host, Mark Minkus. So when you go to the eye doctor, they usually put that big thing in front of your face, and they have these little things where they click and then they ask you, well, which is better, number one or number two? And you're looking at, probably letters across the room. And, sometimes I'll be honest, when they ask me which is better, number one or number two, I'm like, these are exactly the same. I can't tell a difference. But then eventually, if this has happened to you, maybe you have 20/20 vision and you've never experienced this, but if this has happened to you, then eventually you see one and it's like, wow, that is super clear. And so I want you to pretend you're at school and it's the middle of the school year and you're running around, in your typical tyranny of the urgent, playing whack-a-mole with one hand, a little fire extinguisher in the other hand, and your hair is on fire. And you're going through your day, and you're wearing glasses from the time you get to school until about noon. You're wearing glasses that just are totally someone else's prescription. Everything is blurry when you go through your day, when you're in the office, when you're out and about in the school. But then, halfway through the day, someone hands you glasses that are your perfect prescription. And you take off those blurry glasses and you put on these glasses that are the perfect prescription, and then all of a sudden you can see. All of a sudden it's clarity. All of a sudden it's sharp, and it's amazing. Well, I want to ask you what it would be like if you had a magic pair of productivity glasses. And then as you went through your day, instead of all of your tasks looking the same as far as urgency and importance, and not knowing what to do and which one to do first, and all those things that we struggle with, if you had a magic pair of productivity glasses, you could get a lot more done. Well, I want to help you with that, because really what we need is focus. And on today's episode of the Private School Leader Podcast, I'm going to teach you how to use the focus funnel to increase your productivity. But before we jump into that, just a couple real quick things. If you're listening to this in real time in late June, early July, I have one open coaching spot for the summer left, and I want you to have it. And I would love to jump on a Zoom, 20-minute free Zoom get-to-know-you call to hear more about your biggest problem, learn more about you and your school. And I just don't want you to go into the 25-26 school year and just run it back the same way you did for 24-25. It can be better. You can do things differently. And if you go to theprivateschoolleader.com/coaching, everything is there that you need to know, and you can set up that free Zoom, and I'd love to talk to you. So again, one open coaching spot for the summer as I'm recording this, and I'd love for you to have it. Go to theprivateschoolleader.com/coaching. And then another thing I wanted to let you know is that as the summer progresses, more and more school leaders are purchasing Parent Academy to use as part of their teacher in-service when the teachers return at the end of the summer. And as you've probably heard me tell you before, Parent Academy contains two 45-minute webinars. These are teacher PDs called How to Build Effective Relationships with Private School Parents. And they come with a 27-page printable notebook that have guided notes and discussion questions, and you can easily incorporate that into your back-to-school teacher in-service. And so go to theprivateschoolleader.com/parent academy, and everything will be there that you need to know to have this be the way that you start your school year, with your teachers and you all on the same page and significantly increasing those relationships. And again, privateschoolleader.com/parent academy. And then finally, I wanted to give you a heads up that I'm a guest on actually two different parts of 2 episodes of the Christian Principles podcast, that if you're listening to this in real time, they dropped just within the past week. And if you're leading in a Christian school, I encourage you to check out the Christian Principles podcast. Hosts Matthew George and Mark Zockel, 2 Christian school administrators, dig into real-life issues that you're facing, like hiring, culture, enrollment, parent pressure, and more. And these are fun, relatable conversations covering everything from where the staplers go to what faculty devotions could look like. And I'm on the 2 episodes that dropped this week, one on June 23rd and part 2 on June 26th. And the Christian School Principal podcast is each 30-minute episode, also spotlights a Christian school leader and is perfect for your drive to or from school, your mowing of the lawn, that one chore you keep putting off. It's practical, encouraging, and made just for you. And as I said, I'm a guest on episodes that dropped on June 23rd and June 26th. So if you want to check that out, just search the Christian Principles podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. So I told you that we're going to talk about the focus funnel, and the focus funnel is actually a framework that Rory Vaden came up with. And in his TED Talk, How to Multiply Your Time, this is a very popular TED Talk with millions of downloads. And he also wrote a best-selling book called Procrastinate on Purpose, where a huge part of that book is the focus funnel. So this is a very, very powerful framework for you to use at school and to go from everything being blurry, every task feeling like it's the same amount of importance. And it's like, yes, we want to be more productive at school. We want to get more done. But how do we do that? Okay. Well, if you're like me and it's hard to feel like you were productive or accomplished anything, then I really think that the focus funnel can be a game changer for you. So let's start by talking about, well, what is the focus funnel? So I want you to think of it as a decision-making, kind of like a filter, because you're picturing a funnel that you use perhaps to in the kitchen, or perhaps a funnel that you use to put, let's say, motor oil into your car. It's got a big top, and then it tapers down to something very small at the bottom. So you know what a funnel is. Well, this is the focus funnel. And this is going to help you determine how to handle the things that are on your plate, and actually, and more importantly, it's going to help you figure out what shouldn't even be on your plate at all. And isn't that true for us as private school leaders, that our plate is full and then it just keeps getting more full and more full and more full, and things just keep piling up and then things keep falling off? So I really think that this can help you. So the way that the focus funnel works, I just want you to picture the big part at the top getting smaller, and I'm just going to give you a quick, we're going to do a little bit of a quick analysis, or actually a quick summary and description of what this focus funnel is, and then we're going to break down each part individually. And then I'll give you a couple of examples of how to apply it for you as a private school leader. So the 3 main stages are eliminate, automate, and delegate. So a task goes in at the top of the focus funnel, and then the question is, can I eliminate this? And if not, then can I automate this? And then if the answer is no, then the question is, can I delegate this? And then if the answer is no, then the question is, should I do it now or should I do it later? And then that's where procrastinate on purpose comes in, and then it goes back to the top of the funnel. So that's a lot, and it's sort of like, okay, I'm not sure that I get this. But before I start with the top of the funnel and just take them one at a time, I want to remind you that sometimes, I don't know about you, but I'm a visual learner. And in the show notes, I've included a diagram of Rory Vaden's focus funnel. And the show notes are at theprivateschoolleader.com/episode 141. And so I know that you're usually listening when you're out and about and running errands or cutting grass or driving to or from school or maybe on a walk. And so, you can't pull up this, or you can't print out the focus funnel, but you could go to the show notes and bring up that image by clicking on it and just kind of see what I'm talking about. And if not, it's something that you could check out later. So I just want you to connect the visual with the audio that I'm giving you right now in this teaching, and I really want it to stick. And so just a suggestion about the diagram that's in the show notes. So again, at the top of the funnel, we're going to say that a task enters at the top of the funnel. And the first question is, can we eliminate this task? Is this task truly necessary? So this is where I want to pump the brakes on this podcast, and I want you to pause and just listen to this for a second. I think that one of the biggest problems that we have as private school leaders is that we don't pause. We have a bias towards action. We have a bias towards problem solving. We have a bias towards what's next. And we don't pause to ask ourselves the question, should I be doing this? We just do it because we're so used to action. We're so used to doing it. But here's the problem. Okay, so let's say, you've heard me talk about this before. You're out in the school and you're walking around, and a teacher, a colleague, a parent, whoever it might be, they have a crying baby or two crying babies, and these represent problems. And they just want to hand you the crying baby. And it would be one thing if they were handing you the baby because they had tried everything they could do to get the baby to stop crying. But I think in most cases, they hand you the crying baby because they just don't want to hold a crying baby. And you're really good at solving problems. You're really good at getting babies to stop crying. And so they hand it to you. They do a little bit of a stress and anxiety transplant from their body into your body. And then they feel better because you're so capable and you're so organized and you're so productive and you're so good at problem solving. A lot of that is coded language for the toxic hustle culture of just work. And so, you come back to your office, you've got all these crying babies, and then they're sitting around your office and you're not going to work on them until the school gets quiet when the teachers and the kids leave for the day. And that is not a recipe for doing this for a long time. That's a recipe for burnout and for not being emotionally, physically, mentally present for your family. That's a recipe for you being too tired to engage in self-care. And quite frankly, it's a recipe for your teachers being less resilient. And the book, when you give a mouse a cookie, they're going to want a glass of milk. If you just keep taking all those crying babies, they're going to keep giving them to you, and then it's going to increase. It's not just going to stop with one every once in a while. It's going to increase. And so I know that isn't the point of today's episode, but I really wanted to remind you of that, is that I think one of the biggest problems that we have when it comes to productivity is that when a task kind of enters our atmosphere, gets on our radar, we don't pause and ask ourselves the question, is this task truly necessary? Is this something that only I can do? Is this something I should do? And I think we just take the task because we're used to taking tasks. Okay? So I'll get off my soapbox about that, but we have to pause and we have to ask ourselves a question. And each step in this focus funnel has a question that you ask yourself. So at the top of the funnel, eliminate. Can I eliminate this task? Is this truly necessary? And Rory Vaden calls this the permission to ignore. we have to give ourselves permission to ignore a task because we just say yes too often. I just mentioned that, and I think sometimes it's out of guilt or out of habit or out of fear that we're going to look bad or that we're going to look like we're not helpful. There's these expectations on us as leaders, and we don't want to look like a jerk. We want to look approachable and capable and like a good problem solver and all that stuff. And it's like, listen, we have to start asking ourselves the question, is this necessary? We have to pause. And so, we're asked to attend all these meetings, and some of them are important, some of them aren't. We answer endless emails. We get involved in things, and these things don't align with our priorities, but we don't stop and think about our priorities. And so, asking, do I really need to be in this meeting? Do I really need to respond to this email? Do I really need to be at this planning meeting for this event, or is this person capable to be able to plan the event? And then even like some traditions or certain events at your school, like pause and ask the question, like, does this event, does this tradition still serve the mission at our school? But do we just keep doing it because we've always done it? And so again, pausing and asking, should I do this? Is this task truly necessary? Is this task moving us towards our mission? Is this task moving us towards fulfilling that portrait of a graduate? And it's going to take some time to get used to asking yourself that question, but that's the only way that you're going to eliminate some tasks, because at the top of the funnel, some of these things we just don't need to be doing, but we're doing almost all of them. So top of the funnel is eliminate. And we're asking if this is necessary. And then if the answer is yes, this is necessary, then the next question or the next phase of the focus funnel is automate. And we ask ourselves, can I automate this? And Rory Vaden says this is giving yourself permission to invest. So we know that when we invest, let's say we invest in the stock market, the goal is that you are investing and then you're going to get more back in the future. And this is kind of the gist behind the title of his TED Talk, which is how to multiply your time. And so if you can automate something, you can actually multiply your time, because then it can be something that just you set it and forget it, and you don't have to keep starting over. And so what are some examples of automation? Well, let's say that in the admissions department, and maybe you're a one-person show and you are the admissions department, that there's an inquiry and there's maybe even a tour. You can set up email templates, and you can also use an automated CRM as just an acronym for your ability to like a customer resource management, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be expensive. But what I'm going for here is that you can create an automated email sequence for prospective families that reached out, and so that it's sort of like a nurture email, but it's also sort of like a reminder email. And that's something I could probably do a whole nother episode on. But the idea is that so someone reaches out through admissions, they have an inquiry, maybe they do a tour, and then what happens? Well, it doesn't have to be, okay, oh man, it's been 2 weeks, I probably should email that person. There could be an automated email sequence where this person then receives some pre-written emails from the school that are talking about the value that the school has, nurturing them, keeping them sort of on the hook, and keeping the thing moving forward. And so that's one example. Recurring announcements, like automating your weekly internal newsletter with the templates, using schedule send, so that you're working on those things earlier in the week when you have the time, instead of Thursday night at 11 a.m. if the parent weekly email is supposed to go out at 9 a.m. on Friday. Calendly or Sign Up Genius, letting others, you block out time and others can have access to where they can sign up, and then it automatically populates your calendar if you're trying to do teacher observations, or maybe you're doing retention meetings with the 5th grade parents because your school, I'm just bringing this up because this was a thing that I did, is that every year I met with every 5th grade parent so that we didn't lose kids from 5th to 6th grade, because that used to be a problem at my most recent school. And so then if I use Calendly, then I'm not playing tag. I'm not doing all of these different emails. I just put out the things, the times, and it's like people claim them. So again, there's a bunch of different examples. ChatGPT could help you with that. You list a bunch of tasks and then you ask ChatGPT, what are ways that I could automate these tasks? And so we start at the top of the focus funnel. Can I eliminate? And then can I automate? And then if the answer is no, I can't automate it, then the question is, can I delegate? And Rory Vaden says that this is the permission to let go, giving yourself the permission to let go. And this is hard to do. I was not good at this earlier in my career. I got better at it later in my career. But here's the thing, and I'm going to go back to us just having a bias towards action. I want you to stop asking when and start asking who. All right? So I'm going to hit you with that again. When it comes to tasks, I think that we never get past when. When am I going to do this? Or how am I going to do this? I want you to stop asking when, and I want you to start asking who. Who could do this? And sometimes the answer is obvious, and you think of a person. Sometimes the answer is, and quite frankly, most of the time the answer is that you need to do this. But honestly, the leaders that I coach, there are so few things. Probably one of the biggest and most common weaknesses of leaders that I coach is the ability to delegate and the ability to pause and ask who could do this instead of just doing it themselves. And we're surrounded by capable people. And you're like, well, you don't get it, Mark. I don't have a big team. Well, you have capable teachers. There are middle school students or high school students. There are parent volunteers that are very capable that could be doing some things. And if you are a larger school and there's a little bit of a bigger team, whether it's administrative assistants or the dean of students or the athletic director, I say sometimes to my coaching clients, I want everybody in the school to be 5% more tired at the end of the day. I want you to think about that for a minute. If you were to delegate some of your tasks and everybody was 5% more tired at the end of the day, over time that would translate into you being less tired at the end of the day. I just think that we're not asking who, and we're just doing all the tasks, and we need to pause and think about who could do this. And if it's bulletin boards or logistics or schedules, these can be done by someone else. It could even be done by a student or a parent volunteer if you're a small school. And like event planning, like the logistics of all of that, these are things that I hung on to and that I did until I realized that there are others that can do it or help with it, and then I just check in occasionally. And then I'll get off my soapbox here in a second about delegate. But the last thing I'll mention is that in the show notes, I'm going to link episode 127. And that's where I teach you the 3/3 strategy. And just briefly, it's a brain dump. And by writing down every single task that you do. And then part 2 is that you rank them in order of importance, 1 through whatever, 100, 300. This takes some time, but it's going to save you a tremendous amount of time. And then you draw a line. Let's say there's 300 tasks. You draw a line at number 100. You draw a line at number 200. And the top third, however many tasks there are, there's a top third, a middle third, and a bottom third. That's why it's called the 3/3 strategy. Again, I explain all this in episode 127. But the stuff at the top is going to be stuff that only you can do. The middle third is going to be stuff that you and others do together. And the bottom third, most of that is stuff that someone else could do. And if you can eliminate some of those tasks in that bottom third, it's going to make a huge difference for you over time. So we have asked the question, can I eliminate? No. Can I automate? No. Can I delegate? No. And then this is when we decide, do I do it now or can I do it later? And if the answer is I can do it later, then that's when we procrastinate on purpose. So we ask, can this wait? So if we can't eliminate it, we can't automate it, we can't delegate it, then we're going to ask, can it wait? And when you're procrastinating on purpose, this is different than procrastinating because you don't want to do the thing, or the thing is awkward, or the thing is stressful, or the thing is too big, or you just don't feel like doing the thing. When you procrastinate on purpose, you are deliberately deferring something because now isn't the right time to do it. Okay? So there's a difference between procrastination and procrastinating on purpose. And if you say now is not the time, then you take that task and you put it back at the top of the focus funnel. And you can have a little section of your big to-do list that's like called later or decide later. And if it's not urgent, if it's not like strategic for right now, then this frees you to focus on like the things that matter today. But we're also not going to get confused by the tyranny of the urgent. And again, the focus funnel, the whole idea, remember our eyeglasses, the blurry prescription that belongs to someone else that you had on your face in the morning, and then all of a sudden, around the middle of the day, someone gave you eyeglasses that are like crystal clear, perfect prescription. I just want you to get clear on these tasks because most of us aren't asking any of these questions. Can I eliminate it? Can I automate it? Can I delegate it? And does it need to be done now? We're just doing, okay? So the clarity, the focus is going to come from asking and answering these questions. All right. So then if you ask, can it wait? And the answer is no, then you do it now. And that's where we concentrate. And so this is giving yourself, you've gone through all the levels. You can't eliminate, automate, delegate. You can't delay it. Then you got to do it now, and that's concentrate. And this is the permission to protect your time. So we've talked about, different kinds of permission that you have to give yourself. This is permission to protect your time and focus on what only you can do. So how do you protect your time? Well, first of all, you need to get clear on the things that only you can do. And that's where the 3/3 strategy comes in. And again, that's in episode 127, linked at the show notes at theprivateschoolleader.com/episode 141. That top third are things that only you can do. The middle third are things you do with others. And the bottom third, you're asking yourself, who can do this? And so it's like, okay, I get it. And you're saying, okay, do it now and protect your time and concentrate and all that good stuff. But like, how am I going to actually work on these tasks that have gone through the focus funnel and I need to work on them when the tyranny of the urgent is all around me? Well, one of the ways is, and I've talked about this before, is to turn off notifications. There are so many ways that other people can get in touch with you at your school if it's an emergency, and whether it's a walkie-talkie or texting you or calling the intercom phone on your desk or a PA announcement. You don't have to be dipping in and out of email while you're doing this deep work, while you're trying to focus. You got to protect that time fiercely. Perhaps, here's the thing. A lot of leaders say, well, I want to have an open door policy and I want to be approachable and this and that. It is a reasonable expectation for your door to be closed at different times during the day. And it is also a reasonable expectation that you're not available all the time. If you were in the corporate world, you would be an executive. Maybe not like the CEO, but you're certainly an executive. If you were in the professional services industry, you would be a CPA or a therapist or a dentist or a financial advisor or an attorney. And all of those people that I just mentioned, there's not an expectation that the employees in that organization or their clients just have access to them all day long. But in schools, it's like, oh, well, I want to be approachable and I want to be a visible leader and, I don't want to have my door shut. Okay, but you're not going to ever have time where for an hour you work on your highest impact must-do list that only you can do. And so I want to try and break you from that line of thinking that it is reasonable for you to shut your door. If you have an administrative assistant, they don't have to say you're in a meeting because that's a lie. We don't lie. They can say you're unavailable. That's true. Okay. So again, is this going to all of a sudden be easy and as falling off a log and it's going to be super easy to do? No, this is going to take time, but it can truly change the way you interact with tasks at school and make you much, much more productive. So the big takeaways are, we learned about the focus funnel today. And at the top of the funnel, we tried to eliminate. We ask, is this task truly necessary? And then if the answer is no, we can't eliminate it, then we ask, can I automate it? And if the answer is no, then we ask, can I delegate it? Who else can do this task? And then if the answer is no to that, then we say, can it wait? And if it can, then we procrastinate on purpose and we take that task and put it back in the top of the funnel. But if the answer is no, it can't wait, then we do it now and we concentrate. So eliminate, automate, delegate, procrastinate, or concentrate. So your call to action is, I'm linking Rory Vaden's TED Talk in the show notes. I would suggest that you watch the TED Talk and then think about how you can apply the focus funnel to your tasks at school. The visual of it, the seeing that TED Talk, hearing Rory Vaden explain it much better than I just did, and that's linked in the show notes, I think can really land and resonate with you. And then you can start to think about how you can apply that to your tasks. So in wrapping it up, just a couple of quick reminders. Again, Parent Academy, your teachers are coming back. Do you want to have a great year where your teachers are trained in how to build better relationships with the parents at your school? That is possible with these 2 plug-and-play 45-minute webinars with the guided notes and the discussion questions. The privateschoolleader.com/Parent Academy is where you get that information. And then also, as of the recording of this, I have 1 coaching spot left for the summer, and you can check out the privateschoolleader.com/coaching for that. And I would ask a favor that you would just please share the podcast with another leader that is in your life, a rising leader at your school. And also, if you get value from the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Just shoot me an email at mark.o.minkus@gmail.com. And I would love it if you would please follow or subscribe the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if wherever you listen to the episode, you would rate and review the podcast, that helps the algorithm push this out as suggested content to leaders all over the world. The podcast is in 66 countries now, and we just want to get the word out. This is free content to help people to be more effective private school leaders. I'm on Instagram at The Private School Leader, and I've been your host, Mark Minkus. I just want to say I appreciate you so much and all the amazing hard work that you're doing at your school for those lucky kids and teachers. And thank you for taking some of your precious time to join me here today. And I'll see you next time right here on the Private School Leader Podcast. And until then, always remember to serve first, lead second, and make a difference.